Welcome to the Beyond the Diagnosis podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kylie Burton. If you have been told that your blood work is normal, yet you feel awful, well, this is the place for you, because whether you have a diagnosis or not, I'm going to teach you how to turn those normal labs into real answers, healing, and hope. So grab your blood work. Come join me. Here we go. Welcome to the Beyond the Diagnosis podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kylie. We have one of my favorite clinicians in here today. She's been in our world for several years now. And little did I know, though, that she was actually a chemical engineer. That was her first life. This is now her second life. Welcome on, Julia Richards. Walk us through. What's your story?
Thank you, Dr. Kylie. So good to be here with you and your listeners. I was a chemical engineer for 20 years.
What does that mean? What were you doing? What kind of chemicals?
I
worked your health story. So
absolutely. Yeah. So I worked in a large oil refinery. We produce gasoline, diesel, all of those fuels. And, as a woman in a predominantly male environment, I kind of got on a fast track to leadership, manager type roles. Very high stress, very long work hours, 50 plus hours a week was my norm. And at the time that kind of my health started falling apart, we had 5 kids. And I had been in that very high toxic, high stress environment for probably 12 years at the time. And I just started having all these weird health things popping up. Nobody really knew what was going on. And the trigger came when I lost about 15 pounds in 2 months. I couldn't eat anything. I was in constant pain. And of course, my health performance was affected at my job. Anyway, fast forward, long story short, I had an autoimmune condition with my pancreas. I had to have part of that removed. And then it just started snowballing on me after that. I was still working at the time. And then I just started having these long lists of autoimmune health conditions that popped up that no one knew why. And that kind of launched me into the world of functional health, holistic health, nutrition. I was really desperate trying to find answers. And as an engineer, of course, I researched ad nauseum and really looking for answers, trying to put those puzzle pieces together, because that's what I did for 20 years as an engineer. You know, I fixed equipment and figured out solutions to problems. And so I really just started re-engineering my own health. And here we are today.
We are. What was the biggest thing that you learned in your own health journey? What impacted you the most?
Really the thing that got me to a point of functioning again in my life was when I really started looking at and healing my gut. That was like the biggest trigger to put me on a path of health and wellness. And I learned about that working with really an out-of-the-box chiropractor. When I went in and I literally typed out pages of my health history. So I would encourage, if you are listening and you're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where I'm at, no one can give me an answer, sit down and literally write out or type out from as long as you can remember back all the issues that have been popping up, and bring that with you to a practitioner that you're working with, because there is gold in that.
Take it to you, and then along with the history, get every single lab test you've ever had, compile it, and bring it too.
Exactly. Both of those things together are gold, because it's data for your practitioner. And that's what I do in my practice. Like, of course, I'm an engineer, so data is like, the thing that I excel in. And when you can combine those two pieces, it's just like, it really helps to shift the progress of your health journey, of your client's health journey, when we can combine those two. And that's what I love about using each client's blood work to really move and accelerate their progress.
Help me, it's helping many and many, many, many practitioners. You're one of them. So when you say the key for you is healing my gut, give me 2 tips of what people can do right now to start healing their gut. Before we do the tips for healing, let's do why it's important. Why is it important, no matter what scenario you're sitting in, to heal your gut?
Yeah, so the gut, I mean, there are so many things that are connected in with the gut. First of all, our immune system starts there. 80% of the immune system is in the gut. And if your gut is not healthy, nothing else is going to be working as efficiently as it could. So the gut is really such a good place to start to support. And there's this thing called the vagus nerve that connects the brain and the gut. The gut's the second brain. And when you can get both of those things lined up and working well and efficiently, everything else works better too. We can make shifts a much faster that way. And that's what I love to do, is help people, make those shifts as fast as we can. So 2 tips. 1, gut related. It's so important to make sure you are finding and taking the correct, we talk about probiotics, right? So many people it's probiotics this and probiotics that. But if you're not taking the right probiotics for what you're wanting to address, you are likely not going to get the results that you want as fast as you want. So when we can really zero in and target those specific probiotics for gut health, and I like to call that, like, we take a sniper approach versus just like a big bomb going off. We really use the data to zero in what we're wanting to impact. So that's number 1. And then number 2, vagus nerve health. We call it toning. It's almost like a muscle. It's a vagus nerve, but we can tone it. And so there are some free things that you can do to tone your vagus nerve. 1, humming. You want to hum deep in your throat. It really helps to trigger that vagus nerve when you're humming in your throat, and that can help tone it. And you can do it as often as you want, wherever you want. It's an easy thing to do. And then the second,
if you're in the car, driving in the car,
yep,
you don't want to sing the song that you're listening to on the radio. You hum it.
Hum it.
Then you're benefiting your gut.
Exactly.
Ta-da.
If you don't want to sing in the shower, I tell people this all the time. Like, when you take your shower, hum. You don't have to sing, but just hum. And it really helps to trigger that vagus nerve so that it's toned and it's working. That pathway can get open. So you're supporting your gut with probiotics, and then you're toning your vagus nerve so that it's sending the right signals to your brain.
Okay, so we talked about the gut, but I know we really came here to talk about the speed of shifts. Let's transition over to that. What do you got for me?
Yeah. So again, when you are looking at shifting your health, shifting whatever is kind of coming at you, number 1, you aren't crazy. Like, we kind of, especially women, we're just kind of think, well, it's just all in my head. I'm just kind of, it's crazy. No, you're not crazy, and it's not all in your head.
It's not because you're a mom and you're tired and you just need sleep.
No, it's not any of those things. It's not because of, I have 5 kids running around crazy. But really, I want to encourage you to go for those small shifts that you can sustain day in and day out. Because, look, 180-degree shifts, especially for moms and busy women, those are not sustainable for most people. There's a very small percentage that can sustain those huge shifts. But when we're talking about things that you can sustain and really impact your health on the long term, we want to look for those small things that you can do day in and day out and implement into your lifestyle. So we're talking about the speed of shifts. That's where using data from your blood work comes into play, because we can really accelerate what we're targeting. We can accelerate the shifts that you have in your health by using the data that we get out of your blood work, by using the data that comes from your health history. What does your diet look like? And when we make those small tweaks, I'm not talking about these huge shifts, because believe me, I've done a lot of huge shifts in my own journey. And even for me, I'm very headstrong. 3 months is about all I can sustain in a huge shift. It's not sustainable. And so I really like to simplify what I'm doing with a client so that they can sustain it over the long haul, because that's the only thing that's really gonna, stick and really shift their health into those upper, levels that they want to see.
Besides the blood work, what are a few of those shifts that you like to implement into people, or have people implement, I should say? You teach,
yes.
They have to do.
Right. Besides blood work, and here's something else you can do for free. Get in morning sunlight for like 10 minutes. People are like, oh my gosh. Look, I live in the South. It's hot. It's humid. But go outside in the morning without sunglasses on and get unfiltered sunlight every morning. It triggers these receptors in our eyes. Sunlight does. Our body can produce more melanin. It really helps to reset circadian rhythms. All of these things, like this is something you can do. Even if you're at work, go outside for 5 minutes in the morning. Take your sunglasses off and let that morning light hit your eyes. You'll be amazed. Do it for 30 days. Do it for 30 days. Take the sunlight challenge. Do it for 30 days. This winter, I did a cold water plunge challenge. I said, I'm just going to do it for 30 days. It was brutal. And I got to 30 days and I was like, I feel so good after doing this. I'm just going to keep doing it. But sunlight is easy. It doesn't hurt. It's not cold.
I remember you posting all about these cold plunges. And for me, with the cold plunge, it's like I did that so many times in college to get through our workouts with college volleyball.
Yes.
I don't need to go tell myself I have to take a cold plunge ever again. But speaking of the sunlight, I live in Utah, and there was a point in, I think it was February, I'd flown to Fort Lauderdale for a day, literally. I needed to be in this room for a day. So I get over there, I fly in, land late that night. I actually took an unusual, like noon flight out the next day. So I flew in the night, I was there for a day, then I flew out like at noon the next day. So that I had that short little time period in the morning before I had to go to the airport. And I am not a morning person. I will wake up because I have to with my kids, but if I could stay in bed till 10 o'clock in the morning, I would. In Florida, I had no kids. I could have stayed in bed till 10 o'clock in the morning, but it was like I woke up at 7. I looked outside my hotel and I could see the ocean from my hotel room. Like I immediately got up, went outside, took like an hour walk. I was like, oh, this is why people live in Florida. It was February, though, not August or September, in the heat of the heat with the humidity. But I can see how that morning sunlight can just trigger something unique in our bodies.
Yeah.
So very, very simple shift.
Do it for 30 days and see how you feel. The other thing is, I think we often, and I'm going to speak as a patient because I've been a patient, and we often negate some of those simple things that we can do to impact our health. And we think The only way I'm going to feel better is if I go do, these major shifts. I completely, go on this crazy diet. And it's just not what I see with my own patients, with my own clients. We negate those simple things that we can do, and like getting morning sunlight, humming, gargling to help activate your vagus nerves. Those are all simple things that we can add in, and it just takes a few minutes a day. So I love to share those with my own clients.
Okay, so in your story, going back to your story with the gut, what was one small shift you made and one major shift you made that was lasting, had the greatest impact?
Yes, so the small shift I would say that had the greatest impact was adding in specific pro and prebiotics for, as it turns out, they were really specific for the microbiome in the gut that is helpful for autoimmune conditions. So it goes back to immunity, right? It's in the gut, those specific probiotics. That was a really...
Like, we can't just go to Costco or Amazon or your health food store and grab whatever probiotic is off the shelf.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, you can, but
results, right?
You're not going to get the results that you want. So you really need to get, verified, like make sure it has some science behind it, some data, that is high quality probiotics.
Which ones do you use at your office right now?
I use these amazing products from Alimentum Labs. I love the science and the data behind it. I love all the research that they put into it. And specific, we can go in and target probiotics and support for gut stuff. We can hone in on brain issues, neuro issues. So again, using that blood work to help drive our decisions and data to support those steps really helps to shift and speed up the results that we get with our clients. So Alimentum Labs, love the products. So that was an easy.
To use those because I'm like, that's what they're designed for, honestly. And yes, to do a follow-up episode on those products. I think that would be sweet.
Yes, amazing products. So that was like a simple shift for me because it was, it was real easy to implement and add into my daily routine and lifestyle. When we talk about some of the larger, harder things that I had to do initially, like, I was desperate. So I was willing to do pretty much anything to help me progress my health. I mean, I was like running fever every day. I was in the bed. I really was at a low place. I felt like I had the flu every day.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So some of the harder things, I totally revamped my diet. So anything that would be inflammatory, we took out. So no sugar, no dairy, no wheat, I felt like I literally could only have air and water. That's the only thing I could have that wouldn't trigger. But we really did that.
Air is toxic too, so you had to clean that.
Right, exactly. And so is water. So there we are.
Living in being the engineer at that facility. Like, that's all you're breathing, probably all you're drinking too.
Yeah. It was all there. So we really did a whole revamp of my diet and what I was consuming and eating. And like, I live in the South. We eat some real good food. And so that was hard for me personally to have to go through and really revamp all of those pieces. And I was with a very regimented, not just diet, but supplement routine. I mean, I had a big calendar that was a lot. It was a lot. So I've done those hard things and I know it's not fun. And that's why now that I've educated myself and learned so much in the past probably 7 years, we can really simplify and be very targeted on what and how we support our clients, because we can use their real life data, and we know exactly what we can support. And it's just, people don't have to do those really hard things that I had to do 10 years ago.
Yeah. And the blood work really helps dial that in for simplicity.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many people are probably the same way. It's like you get a patient, they bring you this multiple page list of supplements or a duffel bag, and you're like, how do you consume these all day long? You just like, that's your meals? You just eat pills every meal? But they don't know anything else.
No, I mean, at that 10 years ago, I literally had handfuls of supplements, and I was trying to do this all natural, because the doctors that I was with, they were like, oh, you need to be on 5 different antibiotics. We're rotating them out and in. And I already knew I had gut issues. And I'm like, there's no way I can do this. Like, there's no way. And so I was literally on handfuls of supplements and natural things to try and support my health. And I mean, I did it because I was desperate. But gosh, now the tools that we have and that I've learned in, 7 or 8 years, we're able to really zero in and simplify for people, so they're not consuming all that stuff on a daily basis just to function.
Yeah, very simple regimens, but powerful, because we use the right stuff. Like, I use Elementum Labs too. They're my number one go-to. And we'll have to do a follow-up on a few of those products when we talk about specific probiotics and prebiotics for specific scenarios. Yeah, those products. I think we got listeners who are all like, what are we talking about here? Let's dive into it. So we'll do a follow-up on that one. But I also want to point out that one of the big shifts you took in your health journey was that you quit your job. Yeah. There's no way on planet Earth you're going to stay healthy going back to the same environment in which got you sick.
No. And let's be clear, I didn't want to quit that job. I didn't want to leave my career. I mean, I had been there for 20 years. It was a high paying job, but it came with a lot of bad things, for me, for my body and my health. And so I kind of got booted out of that career because my body was falling apart. So yeah, that was probably the hardest thing I did for my own health, was leaving my career,
And it's almost like when an athlete retires, they're leaving their life. Like, that's who they are.
Yes. Yeah.
Same for you. Like, you are a chemical engineer. Like, that is.
It was. I mean, that was my identity.
Yeah. To find a new identity. What helped you find a new identity?
Well, I mean, I couldn't function. I had 5 kids, and I was like, I couldn't be the mom and the wife that I wanted to be. I was failing at my career because my health was failing. And so I really had to take control of my health. And I did that by partnering with other practitioners similar to you, people that did things similar to what I am able to do now, to help guide me and, lead me along that path. And I'm like, I know so many people who need this. And so here we are.
Yeah. A lot of women who are sitting in your shoes, they're like, I'm in this career. I've been in it for 15, 20 years, but I know that it's toxic, not just from a chemical perspective, but from a physical demand perspective, and emotional and mental and spiritual and the whole works. Yeah. And they could be terrified to leave.
It was scary. It really was. It was a scary place to have to take that step. Yeah.
Yeah. I have one quick question as we finish up here. As you say, chemical engineer, I'm sure not only myself, but many listeners like, I bet she had to detox a lot. What was your detox journey like? Because I think there's a bit out there that everybody's like, well, it's just a detox and detox and detox and detox and detox never ends.
Yeah. It was rough for a few years. Like, I mean, I had been there for 20, so it's not going to shift overnight. I think that's one thing that people struggle with. They think, oh, I'm going to just, overnight, I'm going to make a change and overnight it's all going to get better. But when you've been in something for so long, it's going to take a little bit of time for our body to really adjust and start working efficiently. Like 90 days I'm like, give me 90 days. We're going to really zero in and target, and you're going to see some shifts before 90 days. But in 90 days, you're going to be like, wow, who am I now? But for me, that detox journey, it was kind of in stages almost. Like I had some initial shifts, and then I would do some other work, and then we would have another shift. But it was quite the journey, detoxing. And we used a lot of modalities. I mean, nutrition was one, supplements was one, infrared heat was one. For me, especially because I had high levels of benzene in my blood. I had chronic Lyme disease. And so we were really doing things to accelerate that healing process. And it kind of became a full-time job almost for me for a little while in that detox.
Would you consider your healing journey that things got worse before they got better?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I want to throw that out there to anybody who's on a healing journey and they start taking a new regimen of supplements or whatever the regimen is, and they're like, well, I'm supposed to feel better and I feel worse. Normal.
Yeah.
That means you're probably doing something right, actually.
Exactly.
Because when things get worse before they get better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Julie, where can we learn more about you and join your world?
Yeah, so you can find me at the fxnclinic.com/shift. And that'll kind of take you into what all we're doing. We have some great workshops that you can join with us, learn all about some of these things that we've talked about, learn how to what your blood work means. Like, what are all these labs? What do they really mean? And how can we make shifts in your health based on those labs that you already have? You don't have to go spend a lot of money because you already have them, I'm sure. So I really help you understand what they mean, and then we can move into next steps. What's the next best step for you?
Nice. That's FXN, like function, only FXN, clinic.com/shift. So you can go grab the workshop and learn more about what shifts you can make to improve your health. And if you are a businesswoman or a busy woman, join Julie because we get it. She gets it. And if you're like, I need to make a career change, but I'm terrified, that's Julie. Go join her world. She gets it. All right, Julie, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Dr. Kylie. I loved being with you, and look forward to hearing all about what else you've got going on.
Thanks. Hey, if you're new here, welcome aboard. If you're coming back, welcome back. I'm coming back as well. In fact, we're going to have new episodes every Wednesday right here on the Beyond the Diagnosis podcast. If you love what you just listened to and love what you've been listening to, I would be honored to have you leave a review. Leave it on the place where you listen to your podcast, so that way more people can find this podcast and get answers from their blood work as well. I'm Dr. Kylie, and I'll see you next week.